The first question is, who are you? And
who am I?
Yeah.
Great question. Okay. So I guess I'm Harrison Ray, former Vanderbilt baseball player, national champion, former Toronto Blue Jays player, and current Toronto Blue Jays area scout. So that's kind of like the big points, I guess. To kind of go a little deeper, born in Rockville, Maryland, raised in Orlando, Florida, and kind of grew up playing baseball and football essentially my whole life. I want to say I probably stopped playing football at my sophomore year of high school. But growing up, it was always kind of baseball and football and just having fun with it. I think that was the bigger part of it. I think baseball started at, 4 or 5. I didn't start football till I think I did flag football at age, I want to say 8, 7 or 8, and I did that for 2 years, so it was probably 7, 8. Then I did tackle football 9 all the way till sophomore year of high school. But yeah, I think the main part of that emphasis was, I think it was more, there was never really it was a lot of just have fun. Go have fun, go play, go be with your friend, go hang out. I don't think there was ever really an emphasis on trying to be the best. And I say that naively, I guess, because I think I was one of the more athletic kids growing up. So a lot of the stuff did just come natural to me on both sides, whether it was baseball or football. So I think I do say that I say that with a grain of salt, honestly, because I do know that some kids, it isn't that easy for them. And for me, it was kind of easy, and I didn't really have to do much. But I think I started taking both of them seriously at probably baseball got serious at 10, 11-ish. Maybe you could even say 9. It kind of started to get a little serious just because I was around some really good baseball people, and a lot of them would come up to us and just be maybe not as much me, but more to my parents, and kind of he's kind of different. He does some things that a regular 9 or 10-year-old shouldn't be able to do. And then I think football, it never really, I was always good at football, and I don't ever think that I really wanted to play football long term. I think I went out to football just because all my friends played football, and I was just I was good at it. So I did some training. I did do some training stuff for football, but a lot of the training I did do, granted at a younger age, was probably more tailored towards baseball. But I think the baseball started getting serious around 10, 11. Started really doing travel and kind of going around and playing that. And then that kind of just led into high school, I went to Lake Brantley High School in Orlando, Florida, or right outside of Orlando, I guess you could call it Altamont Springs. And it was kind of a powerhouse. If you look at our wall, I think we have I don't know the exact number, but off the top of my head, of the guys that I know, there's probably at least 8 or 9 big leaguers that went to that high school. And a bunch of Division I players. I want to say my sophomore year, I think everybody on that team that started went to some type of Division I. I think the shortstop went to Ole Miss, second baseman went to North Carolina, our center fielder went to Miami. I hadn't committed yet. I think I committed after that summer, but I eventually ended up going to Vandy. Our catcher went to Embry-Riddle. The first baseman went to Florida Tech. Our backup first baseman went to Georgia Tech. Our right fielder went somewhere. Auburn, I think. Yeah, Auburn. Third baseman went to like a smaller D1. I can't remember. But moral of the story, very, very powerful baseball high school. So I guess that kind of going through the travel ranks, playing for a very well-known travel organization and Chet Lemon's Juice, it kind of just got me all prepared for high school baseball. And I guess kind of the rest was history. I think I look back at it, and I never really wanted to go to college. I think for me, it was just like, oh, yeah, let me just commit so I can focus on the draft. So I laugh at it now because I'm glad I went to college, thankfully. So, but then, had an opportunity to get drafted out of high school. Ended up turning down 2 offers from the Mets and the Brewers, and then went to Vandy. And I guess the rest is kind of history.
Sounds good. You definitely hit on some of my other questions, so that's good. I don't have to ask them.
Okay.
Just kind of going off your baseball journey in terms of like your parents and or like key mentors or teammates, were there any that helped shape your career either throughout travel in college and then even when you eventually got drafted?
Yeah, there were a handful for sure. I look at it, my dad was big in it because of, and I think it hits me now more, just his ability to kind of do research and like try and look up as much and like gain as much information as he could. Because my dad, he didn't play high level baseball. Like he was a wrestler in high school and college, so he didn't really know kind of what we were getting into. And my mom was she's from Jamaica, so she didn't really know what we were getting into either. So I guess the first one was probably Dante Bichette, obviously the father of Dante Jr. and Bo Bichette. So I grew up with, me and Bo are the same age, so I grew up with them. And his dad played in the big leagues, I want to say for 12 or 14 years, and was maybe like a 2-time All-Star or something, but had a very prolific career. And so he was kind of the first person that kind of got it going for me. I think I met them had to have been like 5 or 6, I think. Yeah, I think it was like the second year I played like organized baseball. We were on an all-star team together, and we just hit it off. And from that point on, I was always around them. So his dad obviously played a very huge role in it, and I think my dad did a really good job of keeping me around them a lot. So it was a lot of just like, go hang out, I'd be over there with them, and we just hit or stuff, and like it was a true friendship because me and Bo, we would have sleepovers and different things like that. But a lot of it did tailor around baseball, whether it was us traveling together and stuff. So I think that's the first one who played probably. He kind of got it all going, and from there they introduced me to Chet Lemon. Obviously that was the travel ball team I played for from like 9 till I graduated high school, honestly. So I had been with him. I think there was like a break in that. It took like a year. I went and played for somebody somewhere in the middle, like freshman year, 8th grade year, but ultimately made my way back. So Chet Lemon obviously played for... he played for like 16 years. I could definitely be getting that wrong. I'd have to fact check that, but definitely played for a good at least 10 years in the big leagues. World Series with the Tigers, and I know I'm going to get this one wrong. I want to say it's 92 that they won the World Series. But won the World Series with the Tigers. So he was kind of the next guy that was like, I think he, obviously all these guys that I'm naming, or men that I'm naming, definitely played a significant role. But I think Chet was probably the most prominent in that, just because of, and not to downplay the belief in any of the others. Like, I think my dad had the utmost belief, and like, he always was not praising me, I shouldn't say that, because he was definitely tough on me, but like, he believed in my abilities for sure, along with Dante. I know he believed in my abilities as well, but I think Chet was the one that, like, it was always a standard that I had to get to with him, and like, he would not let me not perform at that standard. And because he had coached, I don't know how much you know about him, but he recently passed away, actually, this past year. But he played for, I forget how long he played. He played for a good chunk, and then got diagnosed with like a rare blood disease that like forced him to retire early. So I think he retired at like late 30s, early 40s. I think it was close to the later 30s. And then he just got straight into like youth coaching and came up with this team, and had coached this travel team for years. And like, Prince Fielder, I could go on a list of just guys that he has coached. Zach Greinke, Ricky Weeks, Jamal Weeks, like basically anybody that came out of the state of Florida probably played for him. And so his biggest thing was like, his shortstop is always going to be a really good player. He always had one of the better shortstops in the state. And so his son was, to kind of go from me, for me, it went from me. Then there's this kid named Richie Martin, he's playing, I think he's in AAA with the Brewers right now. Or not the Brewers, the Rangers. AAA with the Rangers. He's kind of been in the big leagues back and forth with some people, was a first rounder. Before him was Brad Miller. He just retired. He had played in the big leagues for, I think he got 10 years. And he was a second rounder. And then his son was a second rounder before Marcus Lemon. He was a second rounder and played in the Rangers organization for a handful of years. So I say all that to say he was very, very hard on me to be able to play shortstop for him and make sure that I was at the level of play that he wanted. And it was never like, I always knew it was out of love, and I knew he cared about me, and he just wanted the best for me. And he just really pushed me, and whether it was him having me come early, me staying late, like he was always working with me, always wanted me to come and do extra. And so I think he just kind of, whether it was from work ethic to just like watching guys take ground balls, or watching guys hit, like just different things to teach me the game, I think Chet had probably the biggest impact on me from kind of that, at a very impactful and young age, and very impressionable. I think he had me around there. So, and I think he had me at the kind of technically the largest amount of time apart from my father. He was the one that was with me for the longest period of time. And then from there, I'd say obviously Tim Corbin. I think he was probably one of the bigger ones as well, just because of, I think like Chet, he saw in me something that maybe I didn't see in myself either, and was very, very hard on me in making sure that I performed and I was working and I was doing everything to make sure I was at that standard that he thought I could be at. And like, he'll go on record and say that like he was always tough on me, and I think he said it in an interview or something, that he thought that I could play at a young age, that I could play at an early age, saying like a freshman, I could come in and play early. And he wanted to make sure that he got me ready for that, because he knew I was going to have to play a good amount as a younger guy. And I think that he was always on me, and I appreciate it, because I come from that. Chet was the same way. My dad was the same way. So I had kind of been used to that hard coaching, and it was something that I kind of responded to well, and I needed it out of him. And I think he was probably not, like there were so many life lessons that he gave me as well that weren't just baseball, that I carried on today. So he was another bigger one that to this day I still talk to. So yeah, I'd have to say those four guys: my father, Dante Bichette, Chet Lemon, and Tim Corbin were probably the biggest influences on my baseball career for sure.
And then kind of going from like mentors to team culture, how do you say team culture was at both the collegiate level and big leagues in terms of helping you develop as a player as well as a person?
Yeah, I think that's a question I get a lot. I think a lot of people kind of compare the two and try and figure them out. And I think Vanderbilt was a very special place that a lot of people try to figure out. I think the culture at Vanderbilt was very good. And I think culture is such a tough word. And I think everybody thinks they know what like culture is, but I don't think anybody really knows what culture is. And so to me, I feel like the culture at Vanderbilt was just such a high standard is probably the best way to say it, that it's not really, there are no rules, which is the biggest thing. There are no rules. Like, rules, we shouldn't need rules. Like, we're all grown. Like, nobody needs rules. You can make, every decision you make is going to have a consequence. So whether it be a good decision or a bad decision, there's some type of consequence that comes from it. Whether that's a good consequence or a bad consequence, that's for you to evaluate amongst yourself. But I think the level of competition and just the program itself leaded to, you kind of knew what you were getting into. I don't think it was so much of like obviously, yeah, once you get in it, you realize that it's a different animal than what it looks like. But I think the best way to put it, which I think it's tough for people to understand it because Cord doesn't do as many media things as maybe like a Nick Saban or a Coach K did. But to give like the best explanation for like that culture that we had at Vanderbilt, I would compare it to Alabama football and like Duke basketball, like back in the heyday when it was like there's no better organization than those two in those fields. Like Alabama when they were just running through national championships and like just pumping guys out of there. And same thing with Duke. Like that's what Vanderbilt baseball was when I was there. And it was just like, I think you get that you get the best players in different areas coming into one environment that have a care level and kind of like a give a shit. So it's like, I'm not just like, not saying that we're all perfect people and great human beings, but we all get there and we have this one goal we all want to win. And whether that's me playing, me not playing, but in practice, I'm going to make sure that I am going to do everything I can so that I'm playing in that game. And the guy behind me that's competing against me is doing the same thing. So at the end of the day, whichever one of us does play, we know that, all right, well, I did my part to make sure that he's ready to go out there and perform. Like, he's going to go perform. And if he doesn't, then my opportunities are going to come up at some point. But if he's out there or if I'm out there, it's because we were the better one, and that's who Corbs trust. So I think that level, and it's not like it's hard to explain because I don't think people really understand it, because you really do care for that person. And the fact that you care about them so much is why you compete and go after them so hard. And it's not a disrespectful way. There's so much respect behind it. And like, I could compete with those guys, and those practices were probably some of the most fun practices I've ever had. Whether it was a good practice or a bad practice, you're out there getting after it with guys, and nobody takes it in a bad way. Like, nobody's feelings get hurt. Like, we're talking shit. Like, and nobody takes it's not to take personal. Like, we're all here to get better, and by creating that environment of, yeah, there is some shit talking, yeah, there is a very, very competitive environment that if you're not reaching that standard, you are going to feel left out, and you are going to feel like you're behind, and you are going to feel like you might not belong there. But that's not to say that you don't belong there, because you can, if you go put the work in, like, you can get better and show that, yeah, I do belong here at some point. So I think that's the biggest thing when I look at Vanderbilt, was my time there, just kind of understanding also as well, like, it's not like there's more to life than baseball. I think for me, that was kind of when I really took a turn for the best, is when I kind of just realized, like, okay, not to say that I didn't view baseball in the same light, but whether that was, I focused more on, and I shouldn't say more, but I put more of an emphasis on, like, all right, let me, like, really try to be a good student. Let me really try and, like, ace some of these tests that, yeah, I have no business probably being at this school as a student. Like, we all know that. I probably wouldn't have been there if I wasn't a baseball player, and that's 90% of that roster there. So it's not like an uncommon thing for us to say that. But if you go into there thinking that, then you walk into the classroom, you're just like, all right, well, I don't deserve to be here. Like, all right, let me just take my C or whatever. Like, no, walk in there like, no, yeah, I might not deserve to. I probably shouldn't be here, but I'm here, and so now I'm gonna try and get this A. Like, it is doable. I'm gonna do whether it is I gotta meet with, like, doing whatever it is. Like, just taking that competitive drive from the baseball field, put it in the classroom. And so now you kind of see where a lot of these guys from Vanderbilt, whether they are in the big leagues, whether they're in the front offices, whether they're in these different organizations in different roles, they still have that competitive drive of, like, okay, I'm going to compete. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to be better and help bring up the whole organization as a whole. So I think a lot of what I think about, a lot of how I move, a lot of how I function, is because of that organization. And I think my father as well. I think he put a lot of that in me, and I think Coors just kind of helped, like, get it out of me, and, like, yeah, it's okay to be competitive. It's okay to do all those things. So I think Vanderbilt, that the best, like I said, the best way to put it, unfortunately, because there doesn't get as much, baseball just doesn't get talked about as much, but, like, the same way they talk about Alabama football and Duke basketball, that is the exact same experience that you got when you went to Vanderbilt from, I don't know, whatever time span that was. And even now, I go back all the time, and those guys, they're trying to get that level of competitiveness and, like, standard back to where it belongs. So it's good. And then I think when you get to pro ball, I think it's different. Unfortunately, pro ball, it's not, especially in the minors, there's not that care level for winning as much as there was at Vandy. Like, Vandy was very much like, we're here to win a national championship. That's it. Who cares who plays? I don't really care. We're here to win a national championship. Minor league baseball, a minor league championship in minor leagues, it isn't really weighed the same, and nobody really cares that much. People might try and make it seem like it, but it's just not. And you're not playing in front of the same crowds. You're not playing the same type of environments, I should say. The baseball isn't as important as it is playing for a national championship. And so that's the tough part. And then you got to also deal with, you got guys from different cultures and different religions and different regions, and just, like, there's a language barrier. There's so many different things now that you see in pro ball and minor league baseball that kind of make it a little tougher for you to kind of get on the same page. So I do think that pro ball is a little more laid back. It's a little more, you do your own thing, like, go whatever you need, go do it. Not to say that college was like, oh, holding your hand or anything, but, like, minor league baseball is definitely more just like, we're just going to do kind of like, all right, here, go take 10 minutes of ground balls. All right, you're good. Go hit. All right, you're good. All right, done for the day. Go home. So I just think they're different environments, and they're kind of just, that's just how it kind of is for now. I think maybe one day it might change. But for right now, I think it was different environments, unfortunately. And I think that minor league baseball is just, it's kind of, the emphasis is more on development than in college. Where college, yes, there is some development, but it's like, no, we need to also win. So yeah, we're going to develop you, but we're here to win in baseball games. That's plain and simple. Where minor league baseball, if we win, cool. As long as you develop, that's the most important thing. So definitely some differences there, but I wouldn't really change it. I enjoyed both experiences.
Now, going from kind of your background to your baseball journey to where you are now, I want to kind of focus on the technology aspect, as I feel like that's kind of growing. So my question that I put together was, how has the game of baseball changed with technology and training within the last few years?
Yeah, I think a lot. I think it's changed significantly. I think I got lucky because I kind of played with some of this technology, so I do have a little understanding of it. And so I think that helps me a lot. But I think it's huge because I think when you look at training now, a lot of it is based off of metrics. I think when I came up, it wasn't so like rooted in like numbers of like, okay, this number means this number means that, vice versa. Like there are numbers now where it's like, and we have enough data now because it's kind of been around for so long that like we've tracked, okay, these were this, I don't know, whoever player you want to say, but this was player A's numbers, his metric numbers in high school, and now this is what he is in the big leagues. So we have this track record of data that has kind of shown us, okay, where do guys kind of need to be at what ages for them to be successful at the next level. And not to say that that's like all right, that's what we have to do, set in stone, because I think a lot of players look completely different when they're in high school to when they get to the big leagues or to when they get to college or even to when they get to pro. Like, there's so much change. So I do think there's a lot of good with it and there's also some bad with it, but I do think that the technology is here to stay, and it's from exit velocity and I think on the hitting side, it's a little tougher to kind of like correlate, like, okay, this is going to help the player be better at X, Y, and Z. I think it's always going to be tougher on the hitting side because you're on the defense. Like, as much as we want to say you're attack, you're on the defense, and like the pitcher has the ball and it's all in his hand. So I think that's why you have seen pitching more so be easier to develop, because it is kind of right there, like cut and dry pace. Like, all right, if he throws 95 plus, if his vert is this, if his extension is this, like, yeah, that's a good fastball. Or like, if he spins the breaking ball at 2,600, 2,800, 3,000, like, yeah, that's a pretty good breaking ball. So I think it's a little easier on the pitching side for them to kind of like take the numbers, like, okay, we found this guy, he does this, all right, yep, that'll play. Now let's kind of, maybe there's some mechanical thing, or maybe there's just some things you got to tweak, but like that'll be more successful. Whereas hitting, it's kind of like, yeah, we've seen guys that can hit the ball really, really hard. They have really high exit velos, but it's like they get in the game and they don't ever get to them. Like, you see them in BP and like they can light it up, or just different things. Like their peak EV might be really, really high, but the average EV might be really, really low. So now you're talking about a guy that he doesn't understand the ability to control his barrel and like barrel the baseball up consistently. So I think it's very I wouldn't say that I would kind of lean more on one or the other. I think the best way to go about it is taking the two and kind of finding a way to kind of bring them together within, whether it's coaching, whether it's scouting, whether it's baseball ops, any type of thing you're doing. Like, I think we're all evaluating. So if we can be able to go out there and work with the player and watch, okay, this is what he does, or watch a game, this is what he does. All right, what am I seeing are the issues here? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Okay, now whether you took video or whether you have access to information that I have access to or whatever, now let's go and look at some of the numbers, and let's look at the video, and let's break it down. Okay, this is what I was thinking when I was watching him. Is that accurate? Does that line up with the numbers? Yes or no? Yes? All right, good. This is what we're going to do. No? Okay, well then what's missing? What am I missing here? There's something missing. How can I figure this puzzle out? Because I think everybody's a puzzle. And the quicker you can kind of figure it out by using both sides, I think we can find the complete puzzle. I think for the longest, without all the technology, we were kind of, all right, like, let's throw this on the wall and see if it sticks. That didn't stick. All right, let's try this. Throw this on the wall, see if it sticks. Now I feel like we don't have to throw as many things on the wall. Like, I think that first attempt at throwing something on the wall, we can kind of figure a guy out. And I think that's kind of been the difference with technology now, and just being able to understand it. But I do think that it needs to be combined. It does need to be, you need to be able to do both. Like I said, you need to be able to go out there and work with the player or watch them and evaluate them and then come back and use the numbers and kind of like help paint the complete picture for you of that player, so you can put all the puzzle pieces in the right spot and be like, all right, this is the plan of attack now, whether it is development, like this is the plan of attack we're going to take to getting you better, or you're scouting and it's like, all right, well, this is what I'm seeing and this is who I think the player is, and maybe he can get to this point at his best, and at his lowest it might be here. You never know. Some guys go way, they surpass that, and some guys don't, and that's just part of it. So I do think it is definitely the part I want to stress is like you have to be able to do both, and you have to be able to mirror both. You can't do one or the other.
And then just, I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but in terms of like trends and developments in both the youth level as well as the college baseball level in terms of technology, how does that play a role in what you look for when you're like scouting and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think the youth, it's tough. I think the youth, it's harder. I think you gotta kind of wait till high school and kind of college, because I think as you, like, kids grow, like, you grow at different rates. Like, I'm not saying that we need to start tracking kids at, like, 9, 10, 11 years old. Like, I think that's absolutely absurd, because, a 10-year-old kid, he hasn't even developed fully into his own body. So, like, whatever he's doing now, the likelihood that he's going to do that at 14 is very, very slim. So I think the biggest part that people got to understand is kind of like a lot of this is based on like, all right, well, we need to kind of wait till this player starts to develop a little bit. And obviously in high school, they're still not fully developed, but at least you kind of have like there's at least something there where it's like, all right, a lot of these moves are probably going to be the moves he uses once he gets older. Now it might change with a little strength gain, but the majority of this is going to be who he is. So I think that's the biggest part, is just understanding that a lot of these things that you watch players, a lot of it is because of a lack of strength and stability. And so you need to understand that. And then I think with just kind of like the technology, especially in development, I think it's huge, because we have seen that, like I said, you don't have to throw it isn't just like a throw something on the wall and see if it sticks. Like we've seen what certain things work for certain guys, and I think a lot of people kind of use buckets, and you kind of just start bucketing guys into certain groups, and it's like, okay, yeah, not everybody is the same, but there are similar movement patterns and ways guys move that kind of like, all right, well, if his movement pattern is this, there's probably a handful of things that we can do to kind of get everything out of that player. Vice versa, if his move pattern is a different way, like there are certain things that you can do when you kind of bucket these guys into certain groups. And so I think that's probably been one of the biggest parts of development that have kind of shot up, that I think in part has kind of hurt us a little bit, because I think sometimes we do think that we can go find said player that does this one thing and we can kind of get him to do all these other things, where it's like, at the end of the day, you do need to find the best player, and like the best tools are always going to kind of play. But I think to really focus on it, like I think it's been huge for development, especially in college, at the college level, and you start to see it kind of in the high school level with kind of some of the very specific high-level training that some of these kids are getting. And I do think you're seeing a very high level of skill at a younger age right now because of the use of technology when it comes to player development. Now, I think that's another conversation to have about how that's kind of helped or hurt the game. But at the end of the day, I do think we're seeing a more skilled player when it comes to the ability in hitting, fielding. Like, I think these kids are a lot more skilled right now because of that new technology, where it is we're kind of learning and we see what things work and what things don't work, and it's like, okay, this is what we need to kind of be pushing more of, or less of, I guess is the best way to put it.
And then kind of going back to being both a player and now being on like the, I'd say more so like administrative coaching side, what do you look for in terms of evaluation of players and talent?
I think the biggest thing is athleticism. I think at the end of the day, like I said, these guys are still, a lot of them are still developing, whether it's especially the high school level, and honestly, even still some of these college kids. Some of these college kids aren't fully developed yet, and they're still kind of developing. So a lot of it does fall into, like, how athletic is he? Because the more athletic he is, okay, yeah, I can kind of, there's some more stuff we can add here. Like, if there's no athleticism there, it's kind of tough to make any more adjustments. And he might be a really great player, and that's perfect. Like, okay, maybe he doesn't need that anymore, and he just needs to just keep going and playing. So I think a lot of it is, it's not just one cut and dry, like, this is what I'm looking for. Obviously, you want to see tools. Like, at the end of the day, tools play. Like, tools play in the big leagues. If you look at any big leaguer, a lot of them, the really good all-stars, they have carrying tools. They have something that you can sit there and be like, yeah, that's at least a 60-plus tool right there. So I think that's really the biggest thing in it, is trying to find, all right, what is this guy's tool? Like, who can he be? And I think that's the part that is it's not tough. I think we try to make it tougher now that we have all this technology. Like, we try to make it seem like, oh, yeah, we found the diamond in the rough, where it's like, it's probably not. Like, yeah, maybe the numbers might say there's something there, but, like, let's be realistic. Like, let's go watch it. That ain't there's no carrying tool there. Maybe there's no athleticism, or there's just something there that you're just like, yeah, no. I get what the numbers say, but again, like I said earlier, you can't rely on just the numbers or just your eyes sometimes. Like, you need to be able to back it up with both, so you can be able to paint the best picture you can, I think is probably the best way to say it. But yeah, I think at the end of it, athleticism and tools, I think those are the things. And then just kind of, there's a long list of things that some guys, yeah, everybody has their own thing. But I think truly for me, I think how athletic the kid is and what are the tools. Like, that's really what's going to tell you who he is. Like, if he has no tools, he's gonna fizzle. He's gonna reach a point where it's like, all right, yeah, there's nothing left in there, and vice versa. If he has tools, he might get pushed higher, and there's a chance that he could really, really be a really good player. So I think that's the biggest thing to me.
And then in terms of like advice you would give based on your journey throughout baseball, what would you say is like one of the biggest pieces of advice?
To
players.
Like
and
players trying
to get to the MLB, as well as trying to, maybe if they're not going to the MLB but they're playing college baseball right now, trying to get to like a scouting role or like a coaching role from there.
Got you. I think players trying to get to the MLB, I'd say ask questions, figure out what that person is trying to get you to do. The more you understand what they're trying to get you to do, the better chance you have at really getting to that point and like figuring out whatever it is they're trying to get you to do. And I think honestly, it's just like work hard, and like don't be afraid to be different and like be uncomfortable. I think we are this generation, it's like we search for comfort. We search for fitting in with the pack. And I think the guys that are like okay with like stepping out, whether it's like, all right, everybody's going out on the Friday, but I'm going to hit, like different things like that. And obviously that's that. But like whatever it might be, like don't be afraid to be different and to stand out. Like, and I think we try and like, I think we breed like as a society, like, oh, fitting in, like kind of just going with the flow of things, being with the pack, like being comfortable. And that's like, no, like it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. Like that's what you want. Like don't fit in, like be different. Like obviously I'm not saying like there's different ways to go about it, but I to me, being different with your play, be different with your work ethic. Don't be different as like the loudest person out here trying to wear all the chains and have all the elbow guards, and you see all these, they think that's being different, and it's like, no, that's not helping you get any better. Like, be the one that is showing up early, leaving late. Like, those are the things that people see, and like the little intangibles that we as scouts and like as people in the front office, like we hear about that, and it's like, okay, that's kind of what starts to say, because that's all they ask in the rooms. Once you get into the rooms, like the talent is the talent, the level of play is the level of play. Like everybody, there's gonna get to, when you're sitting there talking about first rounders, there's really not that big of a difference between the fifth pick and the sixth pick. Like when you're talking about first round shortstops, there's really no big difference in the two. So now you got to start figuring out, okay, what's his work ethic? Is he different? Does he just fit in? Like, is he doing something where it's like, okay, yeah, that kid, he's going to be special. Like, that's what you want people to be able to say about you. And it's not because you're wearing 3 chains and you have all the new elbow guard. Like, that stuff just, it doesn't look good. And it's not, once you get to the big leagues, you can do whatever you want at that point. But until you get there, don't be that guy. So I think, yeah, as a player, to summarize it, just be different. Be different and be uncomfortable and don't fit in. Like, those are probably the 3 things I'd say. And then I guess as somebody who's trying to get into this side of baseball, I think just ask questions and really understand the game, watch the game. I guess that, honestly, I could go for both sides. Like, watch the game. I don't think we watch the game enough, but watch the game and kind of, like, do your own research. And, like, there's so many tools now out there, whether it's Baseball Savant, like, different things where, like, you can watch a baseball game and then pull up Baseball Savant, and it'll have all the metrics there for you, like, all the numbers there, where it's, like, start to be able to understand those. Like, okay, what is this? What's this metric? What's this number? Like, what does this all mean? So I think that's the biggest thing that I would tell somebody. Just understand, just really go out there and read and do your homework, and then just start kind of talking, whether it's your coach, because all these guys, whether you're a coach, like this whole baseball network is really, really small. Somebody knows somebody, from a high school coach to a college coach to a professional coach, like a scout, like it's all intertwined, that like all you got to do is just ask, and I'm sure whoever you're around, they have some type of connection that might just be able to get you that next connection. It might not be the direct connection, but it might get you to the next connection to where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, bang. And now you just kind of work your way up the totem pole. So, yeah, I think just reach out to people, and this baseball world is small. You probably know somebody that you played with that is now, so like that's how crazy it is. So, yeah, that would be my advice to somebody.
And then to kind of wrap up, what are your plans from here? Like, do you want to stay in like this scouting realm? Do you want to move up? Kind of where do you see yourself from here on out?
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of I obviously I do want to kind of see myself kind of move upwardly here throughout this thing. I think I don't really know what side of it I really want to stay on yet. Like I really do enjoy the scouting side. I think it's really good, and it's been really beneficial for me. I think that everybody should be able to evaluate talent. Not saying that everybody needs to go be an area scout, but I do think that everybody needs to be able to evaluate talent for themselves, because if you can't evaluate talent for yourself in whatever role you're in baseball, then you're just taking somebody else's evaluation, which is kind of defeats the purpose of being able to evaluate talent, because now you're just using somebody else's words and hoping that they know how to evaluate talent. So, yeah, for me, I think I definitely kind of want to move up and kind of take that next step, whether that is a cross-checker, whatever that may look like, kind of getting into the next thing and just kind of keep following this thing upward. I think ultimately, obviously, I do think I want to be a GM of a team at some point. So we'll see if I'm lucky enough to get that opportunity. But at the end of the day, I just want to keep being able to say that I have some type of impact in the game, and just being able to give kids a chance to get back and give back to everybody, because I was blessed with the opportunity, like I said, with some of those names that kind of have been a big part of my development as a baseball player. I don't think everybody is as lucky enough to say that they've had two big leaguers, two all-stars mentor them through their baseball career, I guess, and those are just kind of the two big ones. There's probably been a handful of other ones that I might not have named and I probably should have named, but that have also played a huge role in my life. And so I've recognized that I've been blessed with that opportunity, and not everybody does get that opportunity. So I think for me now, it's kind of just like, how can I help give back and make sure that everybody gets the same opportunities that I got as a baseball player, that they get those as well, so that they can, who knows? You never know where the next big league is going to come from. So I just want to be able to say that I kind of help give everybody a shot, from every type of minority, every background. I think this game is best when it's played with people coming from all different walks of life. I think that's when you see a really, really fun game, when you see all these different people playing our game. So that's really my goal in this, however the Lord lets me get in it, but I definitely want to try and impact as many lives as possible.